Welcome to Nasdaq Trade Talks. I'm your host, Jill Malandrino, global markets reporter at Nasdaq. Joining me at the market site in Times Square, New York City, we have Raj Chakraborty. He is the Senior Managing Director of Financial Services over at Publicis Sapient. We're going to take a look at 2020 digital trends for financial services and private equity. Raj, it's great to have you with us.
Thanks.
At market site and digital. Digital is a key priority for just about any industry, but for middle market banks in particular.
Definitely. I think when you look at what middle market banks are trying to do in the consumer space, there has to be a focus on digital. Otherwise, they're going to have a tough time, staying in business.
And it all comes back to the consumer, even if you want to liken it to what's happening in the retail space. It really does come back to banking as an experience for the consumer.
It does. The way that banks are set up is product-based. And you have mortgage products, and you have credit card products, and you have checking and savings products. And that's how banks go to market. But the consumer doesn't see it that way. When the consumer looks at the experience that they want from a bank, they want the bank to help them kind of manage their entire life. Imagine if Uber was your bank, right? Your experience that you would expect would be very different, and that's where the consumer is going with their expectations.
So it sounds like it comes down to pricing, to payment, to experience.
That's right. The types of things that the consumer is looking for is, first of all, a lightweight experience, right? They're not looking for these heavy things. So imagine doing a ACH transaction, right? That is a very painful process. Imagine if that was easy. It took seconds to do instead of taking days to do.
Well, they need to adopt some of that financial technology that's out there now for ACH transactions. But let's flip sides here and talk about private equity, because when you think of private equity, yes, they make the investments in upstarts and digital companies and so forth, but you don't associate digital strategies with the private equity company itself.
That's right.
So it sounds like there's a big transformation there.
Yeah, Jill, if you think about private equity, there's sort of two different camps. There are the large private equity firms, and then there's the middle market private equity firms. The large private equity firms have hundreds of people that focus on improving the operations in their portfolio companies, and as well as enabling growth in the portfolio companies. The middle markets can't really afford to do that in that same way, and the individual portfolio companies also can't afford to do that in the same way. So they need a unified at-scale capability that's going to help them drive digital transformation, both for growth but also for operational efficiency in their portfolio companies, so that they can turn them over more quickly.
What do those solutions look like for PE?
In PE, when you look at the two different types of solutions, the growth-oriented solutions is things like digitizing the marketing and the consumer experience. It's also using data in innovative new ways to either position locations or understand what the consumer wants and be able to deliver it to them. On the efficiency side, there are things like robotic process automation and using AI in the operations to streamline how the business works. So both of those fronts really need to be driven effectively in order for the PE to realize that turn on their portfolio.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Even though middle market banks and private equity, they're within the world of finance, it's interesting to see how they both really do rely on this digital transformation to catch up with this economy that we're in right now.
Absolutely. The consumer is driving everything, right? The expectations of the consumer is driving everything. So when you look at the overall the experience that a consumer gets, you want very lightweight and easy to use set of applications that get things done quickly. They want things like predictive capabilities. So they want to know what the banks need to be able to provide to them, the solutions that they want before they actually know it, without being too creepy.
Yeah, and again, it's really interesting how you would think finance was kind of driving the way that consumers thought and the way that they did their banking and so forth. This is a big shift in the dynamics, how consumers are driving and telling the financial industry what they need to see happen, even if you break it down to the way they're investing. When you look at impact investing and where this is critical for capital formation now.
Yeah, the consumer is just needs to get what they want when they want it, and the types of behaviors that these consumers are exhibiting are really we've not seen them before, right? Before, people have been really profit driven and sort of very targeted in terms of dollars and cents. Now, if you look at, for example, in wealth management, look at retirement planning, right? People are sick and tired of these retirement calculators where you turn the dial and it tells you when you're going to run out of money in retirement. What they want to do is they want to plan for their retirement. They want to see where they want to live. They want to plan for, how much they want to spend in retirement. They want to create that vision first, and then have the financial instruments to be able to actually make that vision come to reality. That experience is not something that the banks or the wealth managers are capable of delivering today, because just of the way that we think about consumers in financial services. But companies like Publicis Sapient are helping the banks deliver kind of a more cohesive consumer strategy that takes into account what the consumer wants, and then be able to deliver the different products as needed.
All right. It's a good time to be a buyer, that's for sure.
It is.
Thank you so much, Raj, for joining us at
Thank you.
MarketSite. And thank you for joining me on Trade Talks. I'm Jill Malandrino, Global Markets Reporter at Nasdaq.